Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Shaykh.
Yusuf, we are late today.
Yes, I have network issues.
How are you now?
Alhamdulillah.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. Yesterday our discussions were about the most deserving of our neighbors for gifts and kind treatment. Who is the most deserving amongst all the neighbors we may have? And the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam responded to that question from our mother Aisha when she said, Ya Rasulallah, inna li jarayn fa ila ayyihima uhdi. I have two neighbors. Which of them should I start with the gifts? And then he said, alayhi salatu wasalam, ila aqrabihima minki baba. You should start with aqrabuhuma minki baba. You should start with the two, the nearest of the two to you with her door. That is the nearest of the doors to you. The nearest neighbor with the nearest door to you should be the one you should start with. There is a point of benefit in this hadith that we did not mention yesterday, and that is the fact that Aisha radiallahu anha, she did not suffice with the fact that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam enjoins us to be kind to our neighbors. She wants to know, where do we start that kindness from? Who do we start with? That is from the aspect of seeking knowledge before action. That is from the aspect of seeking knowledge before acting. For example, we have the order to observe Salah. Many of the Muslims have not learned Salah before they begin to observe Salah. Just take a look. Go to any masjid. Ask the question. Ask any 5 persons in any masjid where you observe Salah. Did you learn how to pray? You end up with the answer of, they did not learn how to pray. And this has unfortunately come down to us too. Many of us, we have not taught our children how to make wudu correctly, the wudu of Sunnah. We have not taught our children how to observe Salah correctly, the Salah of Sunnah. And yet they are observing the wudu, they are observing the Salah. This question of our mother Aisha radiallahu anha, ila ayyihima radiallahu anha, she said, ila ayyihima uhdi. So which of my neighbors should I start? She wants to know, where should she start from? Yes, it's a good deed. Be kind to the neighbors is a good deed. She did not take it for granted that, okay, be kind to all neighbors. She still wants to know, according to the limits of the Sharia, according to the enjoyments of the Sharia, where do I start that good deed from? This is from the aspect of seeking knowledge before acting. I hope that we get that lesson from that hadith. She was asking, she did not take it for granted. Where do I start from, O Messenger of Allah? And the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wassalam, ila aqrabihima minki baba, that she was to start from the neighbor with the nearest door. So when we show kindness to our neighbor, we should not forget that the guidance of the Messenger alayhi salatu wassalam regarding that is that the nearer the neighbor, the more we should start with him or her, as the case may be. The next chapter in our book, Al-Adab Al-Mufrad, by Al-Imām Al-Bukhāri, rahimahullah, is Babun Al-Adna Fal-Adna Min Al-Jiran. Al-Adna Fal-Adna Min Al-Jiran. The chapter regarding the nearer the neighbor, the more pressing the rights. The nearer the neighbor is to us, the more pressing it becomes for us to show kindness to the neighbor. That's something similar to the last chapter that we just recited. The nearest of the neighbor, and then the nearest of the neighbor, and then the nearest of the neighbor. As if to say, the last chapter was about where do we start from. This chapter is about how much of the neighbor, how much amongst the neighbors, what is the number of the houses. The last chapter was about which of the neighbors do we start our kindness with. The chapter before that is that when you want to show kindness, apart from our relatives, we start with the neighbors. That is the preceding chapter. After that, the next chapter which we read yesterday is about, okay, which of the neighbors should I start with? This chapter is that how much of the neighbors, how many of them, if I start with one, then where do I stop? Where does the right of neighborhood, where does it, what is the extent of that issue of neighborliness? If I have known that, I will now start with the nearest neighbor to me. How much do I have to go regarding that? This is what this chapter has to say. And by that, it does not restrict a number. And Imām Al-Bukhāri has not said, go with 30, go with 20 neighbors, go with 15 neighbors, go with 100 neighbors. Why? Because there is no such clear-cut statement from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. All that we have is that the nearer the neighbor, the more we should show neighborliness. The nearer the neighbor, the more we should show neighborliness. There is no clear-cut restriction in the Sharia to how much the neighbors should be before the rights of the neighbors become removed. All that we know is that the nearer that house is to us, then the more pressing the right of neighborliness comes on us. The nearer the house, the more pressing. So how many houses? As near as is possible. The nearer that the houses are to you, then the more pressing the duty of neighborliness comes upon us. I hope that this point is clear. There is no clear-cut specification in the Sharia about how many houses do we count, whether right or left. The Messenger himself, alayhi salatu wasalam, has not specified a particular number. But the more a house is near to us, then the closer the rights of neighborhood we owe the adherents of that house, the dwellers of that house. I hope that this chapter heading is clear to us. How many neighbors should we show kindness to? The number is not explicit, but the closer and then the more pressing the rights of neighborliness. Imām Al-Bukhāri has placed under this a narration from one of the Tabi'un, Al-Imām Al-Hasan Al-Basri, because one of the differences between this book, Kitab Al-Adab, this book we are reading, that we have called Al-Adab Al-Mufrad, we say that its actual name is Kitab Al-Adab or Al-Adab. The actual name of this book is Al-Adab. But by way of showing that it is different from Kitab Al-Adab inside Sahih Al-Bukhāri, the scholars have called it Al-Adab Al-Mufrad. That is the book specially gathered regarding the issue of adab, apart from the one in Sahih Al-Bukhāri. Otherwise, this book, its name is Al-Adab. So this book we are reading by Imām Al-Bukhāri, its name is what? Al-Adab, meaning what? Manner. That is the name of this book we are reading. So it's called Al-Adab Al-Mufrad, meaning that a book specifically compiled regarding the matters of adab, by way of differentiating between this book and Kitab Al-Adab, the chapter on adab inside Sahih Al-Bukhāri. One of the differences between Al-Adab Al-Mufrad and Kitab Al-Adab in Sahih Al-Bukhāri is that Kitab Al-Adab in Sahih Al-Bukhāri has no reports from companions and the Salaf al-Salih in terms of the absolute, in terms of the basic reports in it. For example, in Kitab Al-Adab in Sahih Al-Bukhāri, you only have reports from the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam on the issues of adab, on the issues of manners. But in Al-Adab Al-Mufrad, Al-Imam Al-Bukhāri has included both reports from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the reports from companions, and then the reports from Tabi'un. So in Al-Adab Al-Mufrad, you see reports from the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam that we call marfu'at. You see reports from the companions that we refer to as mawqufat. And then you see reports from Tabi'un and those after them that we refer to as what? Maqtu'at. That we refer to as what? Maqtu'at. So in this book, Kitabul Adab, that is Al-Adab Al-Mufrad, you find marfu'at and what? Mawqufat and what? Maqtu'at. Reports from the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Reports from the companions, reports from the Tabi'un and those after them. But in Kitabul Adab in Sahih Al-Bukhāri, we only have marfu'at because the condition of Al-Imam Al-Bukhāri in his Sahih is that he is only interested in those reports from the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. So when we say here that the Prophet himself has not delineated how many houses form our neighbor, then we can ask, what was the guide that we have from the early Muslims? Do we have any guide? Have they guided us regarding that matter? So we say, yes, they have guided us. How do we know? This is the author that Al-Imam Al-Bukhāri has given us. So what he has given us is like a guide regarding how much our neighbors should be. What is the circumference of the neighborhood? After we have here that we shall read today, is a guide about that. Otherwise, the basic rule is that the nearer an individual is to you in terms of neighborliness, then the more rights he has over you as a neighbor. I hope that this clarification is understood, inshallah. So Al-Imam Al-Bukhāri has started this after from Al-Hasan Al-Basri. He has reported it from the Shaykh Hussein ibn Hurayth. So Al-Imam Al-Bukhāri said, rahimahullah, حدثنا الحسين بن حريث قال حدثنا الفضل بن موسى عن الوليد بن دينار عن الحسن أنه سئل عن الجار فقال 40 دارا أمامه 40 خلفه 40 عن يمينه 40 عن يساره. سئل عن الجار، سئل عن الحسن أنه سئل عن الجار فقال 40 دارا أمامه 40 خلفه 40 عن يمينه 40 عن يساره. Imam Al-Bukhāri says rahimahullah that Hussein ibn Hurayth, his teacher Abu Imad Hussein ibn Hurayth, reported from Al-Fadl ibn Musa. Hussein ibn Hurayth is Abu Imad and he is reporting from Al-Fadl ibn Musa. Al-Fadl ibn Musa is Abu Abdullah Al-Marwazi. He is reporting from Al-Walid ibn Dinar. So the student of Al-Hasan Al-Basri in this report is Al-Walid ibn Dinar, and Al-Hasan is reporting this after from Al-Imam Al-Hasan Al-Basri. Al-Hasan Al-Basri is Abu Sa'id Al-Hasan ibn Yasar Al-Basri, rahimahullah, a great scholar of Islam. He is well known, rahimahullah, amongst the scholars in terms of the issues of tafsir. If you are looking for explanations of the Quran from the Tabi'un, from amongst those who will provide explanations was who? Al-Imam Al-Hasan Al-Basri. If you are looking for reports from the companions from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because it is reported that Al-Hasan Al-Basri reported from many companions. There's a riwayah, there's a hadith in the Musnad Imam Ahmad regarding Masfu al-Jawrabi, rubbing upon our socks when we wear socks during wudu. We find that there's an author here in which Al-Hasan Basri mentioned that he reported that narration that it was sunnah to rub upon the jawrab from about 79 companions of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. The meaning of that is that Al-Hasan al-Basri had reported a hadith from many companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because he himself was born just 2 years before the death of Umar. Al-Hasan al-Basri was born just 2 years before Umar radiallahu anhu passed away. That was why it was said that he was still a young boy living inside the household of Uthman bin Affan when Uthman bin Affan was killed. On the day that Uthman bin Affan was killed, it was reported that Al-Hasan al-Basri was in that household, rahimahullah. And it was said that his mother was a freed slave of Salama. The mother of Hasan al-Basri, Khaira was her name. She was a freed slave of Salama radiyallahu anha, the wife of the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. So Al-Hasan al-Basri was a scholar of tafsir. He was also a scholar of hadith. He reported a lot of hadith. If you go to Al-Bukhāri, Muslim, and other books of Sunnah, you will see the reports of Al-Imam Al-Hasan al-Basri, rahimahullah. Likewise, Al-Imam Al-Hasan al-Basri was a great scholar of fiqh. If you go to the books of fiqh, actually, the books of fiqh that have to do with ahadith, with asar, the books of fiqh in which the reports from the companions and the tabi'un will be reported, like Al-Awsat by Al-Imam Ibn al-Munzir, and books like that, like Al-Ishraf that he also wrote, and similar books like that, including Al-Mughni by Imam Ibn al and books like that, books of fiqh where the views of the companions and the tabi'un are profusely reported. You will find a lot of reports from Al-Hasan al-Basri regarding the matters of fiqh. He was well grounded in the matters of tafsir. He was well grounded in the matters of fiqh. He was well grounded in the report of ahadith. And he was also well known for what the scholars refer to as what al-fasaha wal-hikmah. Al-fasaha. He was well known for eloquence, wal-hikmah, and words of wisdom. Al-Hasan al-Basri, if a student goes round the books of Tarjama or the books of Tarajum, it is possible that he compiles the wisdom of Al-Hasan al-Basri. A student can go into the books like Sifatul Safwa, like Siyar wa Alam al-Nubala, like Tariq al-Dimashq, like Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya, and these books that contain the athar from the early Muslims and their lifestyle. It is possible to compile a book, an entire book about the words of wisdom from Al-Imam Al-Hasan al-Basri. That was why a fellow tabi'i like him, that was Qatada ibn Di'ama al-Sadusi, rahimahullah, when he spoke about the scholarship of Al-Hasan al-Basri, he says, Ma jama'atu ilm al-Hasan, Ma jama'atu ilm al-Hasan ila ilmi ahadin min al-ulama illa wajadtu lahu fadlan alayh. I would not compare the knowledge of Hasan al-Basri. Qatada ibn Di'ama was a tabi'i. Qatada ibn Di'ama al-Sadusi was a tabi'i. He was a student of Anas ibn Malik, and one of the companions, Abdullah ibn Mughaffal. It is found that Qatada ibn Di'ama reported hadith from Abdullah ibn Mughaffal. He also reported a hadith from Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu anhu. So Qatada ibn Di'ama was a tabi'i, yet he is praising the knowledge of Hasan al-Basri. I never compared Hasan al-Basri with any scholar except that I found that Hasan al-Basri was more knowledgeable. He was very, very knowledgeable. He was a person of wisdom. He was a person of tafsir. He was a person of hadith. He was a person of sunnah itself. And we remember that the i'tizal of the Mu'tazila actually started in the halqa of Al-Imam Al-Hasan al-Basri. When Wasil ibn Ata al-Ghazal made i'tizal, he stood up away from the gathering of Al-Hasan al-Basri, rahimahullah. Someone had come to ask Al-Hasan al-Basri about the Khawarij. The Khawarij are a people who say once a Muslim commits any sin, he stops being a Muslim. Once he commits a kabira, he tells a lie. He unfortunately abuses or behaves unkindly to his mother or father. We know that Hukukul Walidain is from the biggest of the kabair. In al-mubiqat, if a person does that, he becomes a kafir. This is the view of the Khawarij. So someone came to ask Al-Hasan al-Basri about this, that the Khawarij are saying that once a person commits a major sin, he becomes a kafir. And the Murji'ah, the people of Irja, these are people who have the belief that no matter how a person commits a sin, it does not affect his iman. Because they think that iman is static. But iman is not static. Al-imanu yazidu wa yanqusu. Iman rises as the person does good deeds. And iman falls as the person commits sins. This is the correct view and the view of the people of the Sunnah. But the Murji'ah has a view that no matter a sin a person commits, his iman is the same a person who is of righteous deeds, which would mean that a person who just comes out of a hotel now has the same level of iman with the biggest of the companions. This is a word of truth, and it is a belief, it is a viewpoint of the Murji'ah amongst the people. So someone came to the gathering of Al-Hasan al-Basri and asked him that the Khawarij are saying that if a person commits a major sin, his iman is completely destroyed. And the Murji'ah are saying that if the person commits a major sin, his iman is still as it was before he commits the major sin. For us, the people of Sunnah, what should be our view? Al-Imam Hasan al-Basri remained silent. He remained silent, he had not given an answer. And then Waqil ibn al-Jazar stood up from that gathering and began to say that al-manzilatu bayna manzilatayn. The viewpoint that we are going to have is one level in between the two levels. One group of people say if a person commits a major sin, he becomes a non-Muslim. The other people say if a person commits a major sin, his iman is still static. So Waqil ibn al-Jazar stood up from the gathering of Al-Hasan al-Basri and began to say that the correct thing is that if a person commits a major sin, he's not a kafir, he's not a Muslim. He called that al-manzilatu bayna manzilatayn, that the person will remain, is not a person of iman, he's not also a person of kufr. He occurs between what they refer to as what al-manzilatu bayna manzilatayn. In all of these, Al-Imam al-Hasan al-Basri was silent and later on began to refute Waqil ibn al-Jazar. Waqil stood up from the masjid of Hasan al-Basri in Basra and went to a corner of the masjid, he moved away from the rest of the people, and that was how the Mu'tazila got that name, Mu'tazila, the people who went away and stayed somewhere else, away from the generality of the Muslims. That event occurred in the gathering of Al-Hasan al-Basri, rahimahullah. He was a great scholar of Hadith, he was a great scholar of fiqh, he was a great person upon the Sunnah. There are lots of lessons in the story of Waqil ibn al-Jazar, but we just pointed to it by way of recognizing the virtue, the knowledge, and the piety of Al-Imam Al-Hasan al-Basri. One of his students, Al-Rabi' ibn Anas, he said, اختلفت إلى الحسن 10 سنين. I was regular and I would seriously visit Hasan al-Basri for 10 years. أو ما شاء الله, or for as long as Allah wills. فليس من يوم إلا أسمع منه ما لم أسمع قبل ذلك. فليس من يوم إلا أسمع منه ما لم أسمع قبل ذلك. There was not a day except that I was here for 10 years when I visited the Halqa of Hasan al-Basri. When I visited the gatherings of knowledge that was established by Hasan al-Basri in Basra for 10 years and more, there was not a day except that Hasan al-Basri will say one thing that I had never known before. This goes to explain the vast knowledge of Al-Imam Al-Hasan al-Basri. He was a Tabi'i, rahimahullah. He was well known, rahimahullah, amongst the Tabi'un. Even the scholars amongst the Tabi'un respected the views of Al-Hasan al-Basri, rahimahullah. And he was well known for the issues of piety, rahimahullah. He spoke eloquence and he spoke wisdom, rahimahullah. Al-Hasan al-Basri was a great scholar amongst the students of the companions. He was the one who made this statement, who gave us a guide about how much of our neighbors, for how much in our neighborhood would we have houses near us, and then we still begin to discharge the duty of neighborliness? He said regarding that, rahimahullah, when he was asked, Su'ila anil jar, he was asked, what is the bounds? What is the limit? How much do we have to go to discharge the duty of neighborliness? And Al-Imam Hasan al-Basri said, rahimahullah, Arba'ina daran amamahu. You have 40 homes in front of you. 40 homes in front of you. Wa arba'ina khalfahu. 40 homes behind you. Wa arba'ina ayat. 40 homes to your right. Wa arba'ina yasarihi. And 40 homes to your left. So 40 homes in front of you. 40 homes behind you. 40 homes to your right, 40 homes to your left. This is the extent of neighborhood in terms of the guide that Al-Hasan al-Basri has given us. I remember that as a child we used to hear the statement a lot, but we did not know who said it. Our babas used to tell us, the elders used to say to us that the rights of neighborhood extends 40 houses in front, 40 houses behind, 40 houses to the right, 40 houses to the left. We used to hear this, but the people, they did not used to tell us that it was a statement from Al-Hasan al-Basri. So you have known it today, that Al-Hasan al-Basri was the one who said that, rahimahullah, the extent of neighborliness is 40 houses in front, 40 houses behind, 40 houses to the right, 40 houses to the left. When one of the scholars commented about this statement of Al-Imam Al-Hasan al-Basri, he said, if we implement this, being sure that 40 houses in front of me, they know not anything from me except goodness, and no evil touches them from me. 40 houses in front of me, and 40 houses to my right. As a Muslim, I recognize the fact that they are my neighbors. No harm touches them from me. No evil touches them from me. And I extend every kind of goodness to them as much as I'm able. To my right, and then the same thing to my left, and then the same thing behind me. The scholars say, if this is implemented amongst in any community, this community will live in peace. This community will live in peace. When 40 houses, so it means that my next neighbor too, who is a Muslim, will be counting 40 houses in front of him, 40 houses behind him, 40 houses to the right, 40 houses to the left. Then the next Muslim too will count 40 houses. You see the connection and the peaceful coexistence that Islam seeks to drive amongst the people. That for 40 houses in front, you are counting 40 houses in front, 40 houses behind. The next person who carries his 40 houses. So who is the one who will bring harm to the rest of the people? Who will bring the harm? You see that harm and hurt and wickedness and the kind of evil that we see amongst neighbors, amongst the people, generally the community, would go away if we implement this kind of wide showing of goodness to people and putting away evil from people, whether in terms of speech or in terms of our actions. So this is the guide that Al-Imam Al-Hasan al-Basri has given regarding the extent of neighborliness. And it is just one of the opinions. There are 4 other views. There are 3 other views regarding the extent of neighborliness. Some of the scholars have said that the extent of neighborliness is those who can hear you when you call out. If you call out, Assalamu alaikum, how many houses can hear you when you shout out? Those who can hear your shout when you shout out, those are your neighbors. This is also one of the views from the early Muslims. Another view regarding the extent of neighborhood is that man salla ma'aka salat as-subhi fil masjid. Those who observe salat as-subhi with you in the masjid. You know, if the house is so far, it will be difficult for the individual to come to the masjid for salat al-fajr. So when a person is able to, as early as salat al-fajr is observed, whether at the time of salat or at the time of al-isfar, at the time of ghalas, when the sky is still lightly dark, and at the time of isfar, when the sky is almost becoming bright, whenever the time the people chose to observe their Salat al-Fajr. If an individual is always able to come to the masjid in your community, in your area for Salat al-Fajr, then that person is your neighbor. So all of you who gather in the masjid for Salat al-Fajr, you are neighbors. So just get the house of each of them. Then draw a circumference, draw a line, draw a circle. So that is the extent of the neighborhood. This is another opinion amongst the scholars of Islam regarding neighborliness. And this opinion of Al-Hasan al-Basri is the third opinion, that neighborliness can be 40 houses in front, 40 houses to the left, 40 houses behind you, and 40 houses in front of you. This is another view regarding the neighborliness, and it is also the view of our mother Aisha radiallahu anha. It is said that this view of Al-Hasan al-Basri is also the view of who amongst the companions? Aisha radiallahu anha. And the fourth view is the view that 10 houses in front, 10 houses to the right, 10 houses to the left and behind. So these are the views regarding our neighborliness and the extent of the neighbors. And let's not forget, we had told us in one of the classes, in all of these, the jar includes the Muslim, it includes the non-Muslim, it includes the good person, it includes the bad person, it includes the fasiq, it includes the salih, it includes every person who is in the neighborliness of the 40 houses. So when you count the 40 houses, or when you count those who come to the masjid, include those who are nice to you and those who are not nice to you. You have a duty to be nice to them as a neighbor, to be sure that no harm touches them from you in terms of your statement or in terms of your actions. For you, as far as the Sharia is concerned, all of these people are from your neighbors, whether they are good neighbors or they are bad neighbors. May Allah protect us from the evil of evil neighbors. This is just what we can at least say for now regarding this matter of Al-Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah. Our neighbors, according to Hasan al-Basri, are 40 houses in front, 40 houses to the right, 40 to the left, 40 behind us. This is just a guide about the extent of neighborliness. Otherwise, there is no clear-cut statement from the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu salam about this. But this statement is a guide for us to know how much we need to go in front or behind to the left. And like we said, it is just one of the opinions. Another opinion is that our neighbors are those with whom we observe Salatul Fajr together. Some say 10 houses in front, 10 houses behind, 10 houses to the left, and then 10 houses to the right. So the opinions vary amongst the scholars regarding the extent of neighborliness. And this statement of Aisha of Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah is just one of the views about our neighbors. May Allah make us understand better that we are the same. I hope that this hadith is clear. Hadith number 109. We move quickly to hadith number 110. And Imām Al-Bukhāri reports it from Bishr ibn Muhammad. So he says, حدثنا بشر ibn Muhammad قال أخبرنا عبد الله قال أخبرنا إكرمة ابن عمار قال حدثناه علقمة ابن بجالة ابن زيد قال سمعت أبا هريرة رضي الله عنه قال ولا يبدأ بجاره الأقصى قبل الأدنى ولا يبدأ بجاره الأقصى قبل الأدنى ولكن يبدأ بالأدنى قبل الأقصى قال علقمة ابن بجالة ابن زيد سمعت أبا هريرة رضي الله عنه قال ولا يبدأ بجاره الأقصى قبل الأدنى ولكن يبدأ بالأدنى قبل الأقصى. This statement, let's say from the very beginning, that is ascribed to Abu Huraira, it's a weak hadith. It's a weak hadith we are reading. And in it says, the weak reporter is Layth. The weak reporter here, who occurs in this asar, I wouldn't recall which of them. But the ulama, Shaykh Al-Albani specifically, has mentioned this asar to be a weak asar. And it occurs from Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu. It was ascribed to him that Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu said, لا يبدأ بجاره الأقصى قبل الأدنى. The individual, لا يبدأ بجاره الأقصى. He should not start with the furthest neighbor. Don't start with the furthest neighbor. قبل الأدنى, before those that are nearest. Don't start with the neighbor that is further away before the neighbor that is closer to you. ولكن يبدأ بالأدنى قبل الأقصى. But what you should do is you should start with the one that is nearest to you before the one that is furthest to you. If you look at this meaning with what we are talking about, what is the extent of neighborhood? So how does this report connect with the extent of neighborhood? It connects with the extent of neighborhood from the angle that the nearer a house is to you, the nearer the right of neighbor. The nearer the house is to you, the nearer the right of neighbor. Now it says, don't start with the neighbor that is furthest away. Start with the one that is nearby. What if it happens that an individual starts with the neighbor that is further away? Has he committed a sin? Some of the scholars say no, he has not committed a sin. If he starts with the neighbor that is further away, he has only left what is better. What is better is that you start with the neighbor that is closer. It is not that if you have to start from, or if you start with the neighbor that is further away, you have committed a sin. So it is not an issue of being disobedient to Allah. It is rather a matter of preference. The preferential thing for us that the Sharia recommends is that you start with the nearest neighbor. And let's not forget, the reason for this affair is to make us understand that the nearer the neighbor, the more pressing the rights of neighborliness. Whether 40 houses, whether 50 houses. If we count 40 houses and we still see that the homes are still near to us, we may count 40 houses and find out that that person is still near to us. After we have counted 40, then that person is still your neighbor. As long as the person is living near you. You can say it's living near me. Or that you observe Salah together in the masjid on the days of, on the mornings of, during the time of Salatullah. So all of this just goes to make us understand that the radius of neighborliness is something that's wide. The radius, the circumference of neighborliness is something that is wide. The closer the people are to us, the more deserving that we show them kindness as our neighbors. I think this will suffice regarding the extent of neighborliness. The extent of neighborliness happens in about 3 give us a report. It can be 40 houses in front, 40 behind, 40 in the right, 40 in the left. But like we said to us, this is just one of the opinions that has been reported regarding the matter. So we move to the next chapter, Bismillah. That is Babun Man Aglaqa al-Bab al-Jar. Babu Man Aglaqa al-Bab al-Jar. The chapter regarding the individual who closes his door against his neighbor. Your neighbor comes, approaches you for a need. You get into your house, you lock the door. In his front, you lock the door against him. What do we have from the Messenger, alayhi salatu wasalam, in terms of guidance regarding this? What has the Messenger said, alayhi salam? A neighbor who will come to his neighbor, and then he shuts his door. He shuts his door in front of his neighbor. Meaning that he shuts the door, he cuts off benefits from his neighbor. You have a benefit you can show to your neighbor, and yet you cut him off. What has the deen, what has the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam said regarding this kind of an attitude? Your neighbor approaches you for it, shuts the door again. It could have happened to any one of us. Any person in the neighborhood, in our community could have approached us. If not the doors of our house, it could have been the doors of our cars. You get into the car, you shut the door in the front. You tell the driver, move, and then you drive away. This kind of an attitude, what is it that the messenger has said about it? What is the evil repercussion of this kind of an action? It means that Islam prohibits us to do that. Don't be the one who will get into your car, shut the door, and tell your driver to move away when your neighbor approaches you for a thing of need. Don't be the one who will get into your compound and shut your gate when your neighbor approaches you. So if a person does that, what is the evil repercussion? Whether in this dunya or in akhirah. What is the implication of doing that? Al-Imām Al-Bukhāri has reported this hadith. That is hadith number 111. He reports it from Malik ibn Ismāīl. So he said, حدثنا Malik ibn Ismāīl. Al-Imām Al-Bukhāri said, حدثنا Malik ibn Ismāīl. قال حدثنا عبد السلام عن ليث عن نافع عن ابن عمر قال رضي الله عنهما لقد أتى علينا زمان أو قال حين لقد أتى علينا زمان أو قال حين وما أحد أحق بديناره ودرهمه من أخيه المسلم ثم الآن الدينار والدرهم أحب إلى أحدنا من أخيه المسلم. سمعت النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم يقول كم من جار متعلق بجاره يوم القيامة يقول يا رب هذا أغلق بابه دوني فمنع معروفا. يقول الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام كم من جار متعلق بجاره يوم القيامة يقول يا ربي هذا أغلق بابه دوني فمنع معروفه. Al-Imām Al-Bukhāri reported it from his Shaykh Malik ibn Ismāīl, who reported from Abdul-Salam. Abdul-Salam here is Abdul-Salam ibn Harb, and Layth is Layth ibn Abi Sulaym, well known. Layth ibn Abi Sulaym. He was from the At-Tibyān, Layth ibn Abi Sulaym, and he is reporting from Nāsir. Nāsir is Mawla Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma, and he has reported it from Abdullah ibn Umar. Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhu said, لَقَدْ أَتَى عَلَيْنَا زَمَانٍ. A time had come to us. We had lived in a time, our shin or period. Ibn Umar was talking about a time that he lived in. We have lived in a time, لَقَدْ أَتَى عَلَيْنَا زَمَانٌ أَوْ شِينٌ. We have lived in a time, our shin, our period. Radiyallahu anhuma. He said, وَمَا أَحَدٌ أَحَقُّ بِدِينَارِهِ وَلَا دِرْهَمِهِ مِنْ أَخِيهِ الْمُسْلِمِ. We had lived in a time when nothing has more rights over my own dirham and dinar. Your dinar, your golden coin, or your dirham, or your silver coin. Like saying your dollars and your pound sterling, or your naira and kobo, or your euros, your money, your possessions. Nothing is dearer to you regarding these issues than a Muslim, like your Muslim brother. That is, your Muslim brother is dearer to you than your naira and kobo. Abdullah ibn Umar said, I have lived in a time that my brother is dearer to me than my naira and kobo. My Muslim brother would be dearer to me than my naira and kobo. My brother would be dearer to me than my pound sterling. He would be dearer to me than my dollars. He is dearer to me than everything that I have. Abdullah ibn Umar said, we have lived a time like that. radiyallahu anhuma. He said, لَقَدْ أَتَى عَلَيْنَا زَمَانٍ. A time had come that we lived in, أو قال حين, or a period had come that we lived in. ما أحد أحق بديناره ودرهمه من أخيه المسلم. The individual, no one has a greater right regarding his dinar and dirham, his dinar, his golden coins, or his dirham, silver coins. Silver coin, unfortunately, أحب إلى أحدنا من أخيه المسلم. They are more dearer to us. They are more beloved to us than our brother. Ibn Umar said, there was a time when we, he's a companion of Allah, our wealth, our brothers were dearer to us than whatever we have. But now, what we have became dearer to us than even our brothers. Abdullah ibn Umar said this. One of the scholars said, this is a point of benefit that the learned people usually look at the community from time to time and give an assessment. The people of learning, they have a duty to look at the community from time to time and give an assessment. In the past, it means that Abdullah ibn Umar had witnessed two periods. One period when my brother is dearer to me than my wealth. Do you remember when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam migrated from Makkah to Medina? Many of the companions did not have a place to stay. The Ansar radiyallahu anhum, Allah told us about this in the Quran. So this statement of Abdullah ibn Umar is well known as is a fact in the Quran. That the companions were yu'thiruna ala anfusihim. The companions, the Ansar, yu'thiruna ala anfusihim. They gave preference to their brothers over themselves regarding what they have. A companion will say, come and stay in my house. They were even ready to say, take my wife, before they started to say, no, don't worry, Allah bless the fact. So many of the companions were living together, eating the food of their fellow companions, staying in the house of their fellow companions. You remember that the companion who took Abdur-Raūf out was telling him, take half of my wealth. He said, no, just show me where the market was. So they preferred the comfort of their brother. They prefer to help their brother. They prefer to make things easy for their brother than keeping the wealth. Ibn Umar said, but now, the people prefer to keep the wealth than keep their brother. They prefer to preserve their wealth, hold the wealth, than have anything to do with easing the affairs of your brother. Ibn Umar said to us, so the first point of benefit in this, apart from the clear-cut statement, that Ibn Umar had lived in two times, and as a learned person he can compare how in the past it was like this, but now it is like this. And the verse of the Quran clearly shows what Ibn Umar was saying. Allah told us in the Quran that these Ansar gave preference to their brothers over themselves. وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. Even though they were in need, they also had need too, but they still gave preferences to their brothers. Allah says, وَمَنْ يُوقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. The one who is able to suppress the greediness in the hearts of human beings, and all of us, we have it. We are all greedy. So, but I'm able to suppress my own for the sake of my brother. My brother is able to suppress his foes for my own sake. So what will happen to the world? It will just go around all of us. If I can suppress my own greediness for my brother, and my brother can suppress his own greediness for me, then the wealth will go around all of us. Nobody will be scrapping for it. Nobody will be holding it to go around all of us. This was what the life of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq got Al-Jannah for. The wealth went from people like Bilal were bought freedom. Abu Bakr could have kept the wealth with which he bought Bilal and the rest of the people freedom, and they became Muslims. Abu Bakr could have kept that wealth. He did not keep it. It was reported that on the day that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq died, he had only a few things that could be pointed to, like a plate, like some clothes, there and there. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was a billionaire. But he preferred to buy Al-Jannah with that is, employ his wealth to gain the Jannah. So he bought freedom for them. So their brother, their Muslim brother was more preferable to them than that wealth. So instead of keeping my money, I will buy freedom for Bilal. Instead of keeping my money, Uthman bin Affan. Twice the Messenger alayhi salatu salam begs Allah for him that he will enter Jannah twice. And on those two occasions, the Messenger said alayhi salatu salam, لا يضر ابن عفان ما يفعله بعد اليوم. لا يضر ابن عفان ما يفعله بعد اليوم. After today, whatever Uthman bin Affan does, it will not hurt him. Why? He bought the well the Muslims will be drinking water for in Medina with a lot of golden coins. That is giving preference for the rest of the Muslims over himself. He could have gone to buy some sort of a water for himself and then he makes money with it. He say, oh, does the Sharia prohibit us from making business? The messenger will say, no. Okay, I can buy the well and be selling the water to the rest of the Muslims. But he did not do that. He bought the well and made it a means of provision of water for the entirety of the Muslim community. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu salam, مَا يَدُرُّهُ مَا يَفْعَلُهُ بَعْدَ الْيَوْمِ. Let him do whatever he wants. It will not hurt him from after today. He's free. The goodness, the reward, the good reward of what he has done will ever overrun whatever mistakes he has. He will be from the people of Al-Jannah. And then when they went for the battle of Tabuk, he sponsored about a third of the army. He provided their food, provided all their needs. The Prophet made that statement again regarding Uthman bin Affan. This was the time that Ibn Umar was talking about. The brother, the Muslim brother in these times was more important to a person than his wealth. I rather leave my wealth than leave my brother. Instead of leaving my brother, I will leave my wealth. I give my wealth to free my brother. Ibn Umar said, but now, he himself witnesses of Allah. And the scholars I have seen speaking about this hadith, they say, if Ibn Umar came today, what will he say? In his time, he said, we live a time when our brothers were more important to us than our wealth. And now, the wealth of the people are more important to them than their Muslim brothers. If Ibn Umar came to us today, we talking now, including me, what will he say to us? So Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu said things have changed. And then he cited the statement of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Things change so that even the neighbor does not want to have anything to do with his neighbor. He closed the door to his eyes. Why? That money he wants to hoard is more important to him than easing the affairs of his brother. So he stated a statement from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Kam min jarin muta'alliqun bi jarihi yawm al-qiyamah. The Prophet said sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, how many neighbors will be attached to his neighbor? He will be attached to the neighbor on the day of Qiyamah. How many of that will happen? The Prophet was saying, alayhi salatu salam, meaning that many neighbors will be grabbing their neighbors on the day of Qiyamah. Your neighbor will grab you. May Allah protect all of us on the day of Qiyamah. Yaqulu, and he will be saying that, Ya Rabbi, oh Allah, hada aglaqa babahu duni. This one closed his door in front of me. This one, Allah, this neighbor, he closed his door in front of me. Famana amarufahu. He prevented me from the benefits that he could give to me. This one sent me, closed his door. He prevented me from the benefits. Oh Allah, the individual will be shouting, Allah, this my neighbor. He prevented me from the benefits that he could extend to me. And that shows the fiqh of Abdullah ibn Umar. Ibn Umar understood from this statement of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that what made that neighbor to close the door in the face of his neighbor is that the wealth, the dinar and the dirham, they are more pleasing to him than helping his brother. So if your dinar and dirham are more pleasing to you, wait for that time when that your neighbor will grab you and will be saying on the day of Qiyamah, oh Allah, this my neighbor, he closed his door against my face. Famana amarufahu. He prevented me from gaining and making benefit from him. May Allah protect all of us. I think this hadith is self-explanatory. It only remains for each of us to go back to the drawing board and reorganize ourselves. I always say this when we hear sermons. The time that it becomes beneficial for us is not because we have heard it. That is one benefit, no doubt. But the real benefit from our sermons is that we all go back to redress ourselves, to change our ways, to address whatever we would have heard that we need to address as far as the issues that we have discussed is concerned. We beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive all of us our shortcomings and not make us from a group of people that on the day of Qiyamah their neighbors will hold them tight and be asking Allah, oh Allah, this person, he closed his door against my face and he did not benefit me with what I should have benefited from him. May Allah not make us from this group of people. May Allah forgive all our shortcomings. Provide for us. Don't make us from amongst those who will need the help and assistance of a slave. So we can stop here, inshallah. Abba Yusuf.
Jazakumullah khairan, Shaykh. Assalamu alaikum.
Ameen wa antum fa jazakumullah khair.
This question says, based on this hadith that lay more emphasis on the importance of being nice to our neighbors, does it also include the distribution of zakah? What is the fate of those who send their zakah beyond the 40 houses around them, sending it to someone in some areas, in some other areas, states, or even other countries?
If a person who is paying zakah, because zakah is not just about what you have, what you give. You need the knowledge of what to remove from what you have. It's a certain knowledge. How much do you need to have before you can remove something from it? That is, how much wealth should you have before you can remove zakah? This is something you need to know about. How much do you need to remove from it? This is something you need to have knowledge about. Who do you give? These are the three things regarding zakawat. What do I need to have? What are the things that, quote unquote, are zakatable, as we say? The second thing, what do I need to remove from each of these things? The third thing about zakah, about fiqh zakah, who are those who are entitled to the zakawat? Who are those who are entitled to the zakawat? This is one area many of the people who remove zakah go to fault. They have not learned appropriately who are those for whom the zakah is due. Because this question comes under the third issue. The first issue is that what do you need to have before you can remove the zakah? The second is that in everything you have, how much will you need to remove? You need to learn about that. The third thing is that who are those? What are the things that I must spend zakah on? Because people think zakah is not like every other charity. Please know this. Zakah is not like any other charity that you can spend as you will. You can only spend zakah for the 8 groups of things that the Sharia has specified. 8 groups of things that the Sharia has specified. Those are the things regarding which you can spend zakah. But people think that, oh, it is zakah, it is for public benefit. No. 8 things have been specified in the Sharia for zakah. So if, like Allah says, إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتُ لِلْفُقَرَاءِ وَالْمَسَاكِينِ, that occurs in Surah At-Tawbah, the verse about the recipients of zakah. It occurs in Surah At-Tawbah. So if your neighbor comes, for example, amongst the people who are poor, is fakir. If he eats today, he will not find what he will eat tomorrow. It's fakir. Miskin, he can't even find what to eat at all. These people take preference. Some of the people say, okay, they build masajid with zakah. Many of the scholars say to us that this is not the purpose of zakah. Zakah is not to be building masajid and schools. Please take note of this. Zakah is not to be building masjid and schools. Build masjid and schools from money for whatever you have to do in excess. Zakah is to solve immediate problems of these groups, these 8 groups of people. Zakah wants to solve the man's problem now. He is hungry now. Don't tell me that he will eat it and the money will finish. No, let it finish. He wants to solve his problem now. He is fakir, he is hungry now. That problem should be solved now. The man is under debt now. The debt is hanging on his neck and weighing him down with life. Solve that problem now. It is not about investment. Zakah is not about that. To solve the immediate problem of the recipient. So if these people, like you have someone who is burdened, he is held down with debt, he may be working. He may be working, but his work is not sufficient to make him offload that debt. He has a duty to be given from the zakawat. He is working. He is earning. Because people think that the man is working and earning, he does not need zakah. He may need the zakah. If this kind of a person is from your neighbor, there is no blame at all if you give him from the zakah. He is from the 8 groups of people to whom zakah should be given. Point 1. Point 2. It comes from amongst your neighbors to whom kindness is due. If it comes from amongst the fuqara, the same thing. If it comes from amongst the masakin, the same thing. So what looks to be? وَالْمُؤَلَّفَةُ قُلُوبُهُمْ. Those we want to attract to Islam. We've mentioned 3 groups of people. The first one, the people we want to attract to Islam. There's a non-Muslim who is your neighbor. You know that when you give him some things, maybe your zakah is from rice, or maybe your zakah is from farm produce. You extend some of them to him, and you make him understand, this is what I'm giving you. This is from the zakah of Islam. This is from zakah of Islam. So this I can take from zakah. This your religion is good though. The Prophet did that. Alayhi salatu wasalam. Anas ibn Malik reported a hadith in Sahih Muslim. A man was passing by goats of zakah. The goats that the messenger had collected. And he was asking the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam, Muhammad, all of these belong to you. This man at that time was not a Muslim. He was asking the messenger alayhi salam, all of these belong to you. He said, yes, they belong to you. Give me part of it. He said, take everything. I should take everything. And this man was the chief of his community. He took all of what the Prophet gave him, alayhi salam, and he ran back to his family. He ran back to his community. He was the one who started talking about the Prophet Muhammad, alayhi salatu wasalam. I have seen people who are leaders of people. I have not seen a man like Muhammad, alayhi salam. He's so benevolent. He's so beneficent. I just asked him for 1 or 2 goats. He asked me to take everything. I have not seen a man like Muhammad. He came back with his people. They had accepted Islam. This hadith occurs in Sahih Muslim. This is ta'lifu qalbihi. This is by way of inviting his mind to Islam. So if you have a neighbor, group number 4 hadith, amongst the recipients of zakah, if you have a neighbor who has some sort of a talking relationship with you, in fact, then you can say, okay, I am removing this money from my zakah. Take a part of it. He can say, oh, I am non-Muslim. I can be due to the zakah from Islam. So Islam can extend goodness to me even though I'm not a Muslim. Then that means that your Islam is a good thing. If you have a person like this, give him from zakah. More so if it's your neighbor. So zakah, back to the question, because we can go on and on regarding the rest of the 4 groups too. You can go on and on. Or let's take group number 5. Those who are wal-amiluna alayh. Those who are given the zakat to distribute it. They too will make benefit from it. So if it's your neighbor and you handed over your zakat to him to help him distribute it, maybe because he's a learned person or something like this, help me distribute the zakat. And then he's distributing, he can make benefit from it. He can make benefit from it. If it's your neighbor and then he falls under the category, the 8th category of people who are due for zakat, then he has a right. Where the people come under saying that they want to build school with zakah or buy machines for a hospital with money for zakah, it is the issue of fi sabilillah. And fi sabilillah, the majority of the scholars say that what is fi sabilillah is when the Muslims go to a battle. The Muslims have a battle. You can contribute to the military strength of the Muslims by using your zakah. The Muslims have a duty to contribute to it. And all of it. But many of the times people have the zakat, they have neighbors around them who are in need of the zakat. They remove it and then they start taking it away. I think this is essentially the question that we have asked. Now, can we remove zakat from a community, from a state, for example, and take it to another state? The scholars are differed on it. Some of them say, no, you cannot. And that is based on the hadith of Mu'adh ibn Jabal. When the Prophet told him, alayhi salatu wasalam, that if he went to Yemen, فَلْيَكُنْ أَوَّلَ مَا تَدْعُوهُمْ إِلَيْهِ فَالتَّوْحِيدُ كَلِمَ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ. Let it be the shahadat Allah ilaha illallah. Let it be that the first thing you are going to a group of Christians. Let it be that the first thing you invite them to is La ilaha illallah, Tawheed. If they accept, then do what? Tell them to Allah has obligated upon the money of the rich for the poor. Allah has obligated in the money of the rich for the poor. It should be taken from their rich. The wealth should be taken from the rich amongst them and be given to the poor amongst them. So the scholar says what the Prophet told him is that take from the rich, from the people of where you are going, and give to the poor from the people of where you are going. This is the evidence for those who say you can take zakat away from one community to the other. But others say no, what it means is that take from the Muslims. Of course, it's talking about those who are Muslims. So take from the Muslims and give to the Muslims. Take from the Muslims and give to the Muslims. There are a lot of discussions regarding this. I'm sure this kind of a time that we have will not be the time to go into the details of this establishment. Whichever of the case, some of the scholars say yes, you can only restrict it, and some say you can go out. If you can't find within where you are, then you can definitely go out from within your community to give your zakawat, at least to give your zakawat to those who are outside your community. But if you have in your neighborhood around you people who are due for this zakat, please kindly avail them that neighborliness further by making them benefit from your zakat. I think this suffices here, as brief as we try to make it. Since zakat is a very wide issue, but I think connected to the issue we are talking about is that the neighbor can benefit from our zakat if he falls amongst the 8 groups of people that the Sharia has delineated as a recipient of the zakat. I hope that is clear, Abu Yusuf. We have overstretched the time already. Right? Can we ask one more question and call it a day?
Yes, this one says, can we give the zakat to our parents?
Giving the zakat to your parents, these people have a basic right over you. You have a basic right over you. Before you start talking about removing zakat, you have a duty to care for your parents. You shouldn't say you are removing zakawat, and then your mother is poor, looking for food to eat. Your father is poor, looking for food to eat. These are things that you should have been spending on even before you say you have some money in your bank to pay zakat, or you have some kind of a wealth to pay zakat. So, give the right. What we would rather tell you is that give your parents their rights. When you pay your rights, when you pay the duties of dutifulness to parents, your parents may not come under those who will have to benefit from your zakat. If you give parents their rights, they may not have to come under the group of those who will benefit you. What zakat will you be giving when you leave your mother poor? What zakat will you be giving when you leave your father poor? So give them their rights. What zakat will you be giving your wife when you leave her poor without maintenance? You say you have one money somewhere that you have kept to remove zakat. So I think we should prioritize our activities. These people have great rights over us. Zakat is if you have excess. You have not even fulfilled the basic duties you are looking for how to preserve for the excess. I think this is the approach that we like to give to that person. I think we can stop here, inshallah, Abu Yusuf. Amin wa iyyakum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.